Okay, so welcome back to another Bitwig tutorial, and in this one we need to talk about the fourth stage. So I have a track right here with some chords, and it's gonna sound like this. Right? So, yeah, super simple, just some chords with the polysynth, pretty simple. But what I want to add a little bit of modulation. So I'm gonna go right here, and I'm gonna go to the fourth stage. So what the fourth stage is, it's pretty much kind of an envelope generator. It's just something we can use to provide some instruction, and how that instruction goes is what we are drawing right here. The different points. You have the 0, 1, 2, 3, and then you have a number 4 back there. So you have the number 4. So at the end of the day, whatever you map this modulator to is going to follow this instruction. So for example, right now, if I go to the cutoff of the synthesizer and I play it, it's just a little bit too dark, right? But maybe what I want is that when of course, the chord starts, I want a little bit of movement right here. So what I'm going to do something like this. It's going to start here, it's going to go up, then down, and then it's just going to go back to the original position. This is what we are saying. So I'm going to click on here, and I'm going to say we're going to go up this much. This is the peak. And this is the peak, the number 1. So as soon as we do so, it works. Now, of course, notice that every time that we play a note, it's kind of a restarting. It ends right here, and then it restarts on every chord we play. So of course, this is pretty simple. Now, you can go crazy. Let's say that you want to start something like that, wants to start very aggressive, or you want to ramp up, or maybe what you can do, you can go right here, go up a little bit, and then, maybe go really aggressive on this one. You can create really original sounds just with the fourth stage. Right now, we are just doing this, we are just mapping this to the cutoff. We can go and do whatever we want right here. Now, the cool thing with the fourth stage is that you can go right here and change the curve. Whenever you click it, you can go like this, or you can go like that. So, and the sound will really change. I'm gonna go and do it maybe just like this, I'm gonna go and maybe do something like an M or whatever. And instead of just doing this, I'm gonna go and do it like this. It's gonna sound a little bit different than that. Notice that when we go here, it sounds much faster. It reaches the higher point much faster. It's just a different curve. And on this one, it's just a little bit laggy at the beginning, a bit dragging a little bit at the bottom, and then it's gonna go all the way up. It's just a little bit different, but it's nice. It's a nice thing that you can do. Really changes the sound. Right? So it's just a pretty simple device to use. Now, of course, you need to know a couple things. Right here, you can manage the curves from these controls right here at the bottom. You can go right here, double click, and go back to linear if you wish. Now, another thing that you can do, or you might want to do, is to make it bipolar. So right now, when we play something, we start on this point, and then we go up, and then we go down. So this is what this is doing, is going up, then going down back to the original position. But maybe you don't want to do that. So I want to go, and what I want to do, I want to start high, and then go low, and then go back high. But that's not what it's happening. And it's because we are going from this point and up. But with this, what you can do, it's kind of a blend control. If I go all the way down, you're turning this into negative. So it's going to go the other way. Notice it starts here. I'm a little bit less. It's going to start right here, go down, and then go back. So this as well, what it will do, it will just let you decide how much of this effect you want, because maybe 100 is just too aggressive. So maybe you want to do a little bit. So it's just a tiny bit. No, it's just much aggressive. Just a tiny bit. Alright, so, just pretty cool. Alright, so right now we are going up or we are going down, right? That's what we are doing. and we cannot do anything else, but we can. So right here, you get the plus and the minus. So this one is going to be the bipolar. It's going to change this fourth stage into a bipolar, so you can go up and down on the same motion. So right here, we are starting from 0. It's going to be in the middle. So it means that it will start right here, right? The starting point. And then it's going to go up at some point. And then what I want to do, I want to go down, and I want to go all the way down. It's going to go up, and then it's going to go down on the same thing. We don't need to use this, right? And then at the end of the day, maybe I want to go up again, and it's going to go back to the original position, and we can even adjust and make a tiny curve. Right? So it's going up, then down, and then going back to the original position. Well, up, down, up, and then to the original position. Right. Alright, so super simple to use, very useful kind of a thing, because you can use it, and I'm gonna for now disable the bipolar. You can use it for a lot of things, not just to do the cutoff. Maybe you want a little bit of motion on your oscillators. So I'm gonna go maybe right here. Maybe I'm gonna click there and remove the fourth stage. And I'm gonna go, and on the polysynth, what you can do, you can use the sync just to move it a little bit. So, and it changes the whole sound, just a tiny movement. Or maybe I want a long movement. Maybe something like that. Now the problem with this is that you cannot see the other points. Now they are there because this fourth stage is pretty long. So when you click right here, it's gonna let you see a kind of a more longer version of this, because you might want to do a very, very, very long. Right? So there you go. You can actually see it now. Of course, sometimes it's just too small that you cannot click them because they're just together. So what you can do, you have the controls right here at the bottom, and you can move them by just clicking and dragging, right? So let's just, do something like that. Okay. Now notice that we have 3 different lines. And whenever we play a chord, that line will keep going until this ends, right? That's the first chord. That's the second chord, and I'm stopping audio, but they just keep going. They keep going until they finish, right here, and they die. So this is because we are using poly. Now this synthesizer right now is using 12 different voices. So it's a polysynth, right? So this means that every time that we press we play a chord, this motion is going to be applied to those 4 voices that we're using. In this case, we are using more because we are using both stacking, but if we are playing both 4 keys, this motion will be applied to those 4 keys. And if we play again other four keys, new 4 keys, or a new chord before the first one ends, is gonna still do that motion to that. So you can actually, see this right here. That's the first chord. And when the second starts, it's doing a different motion. And it's going to go on and on and on because we are using the poly mode. Every single stacking has its own 4th stage, rolling the sync. Okay, now what if you don't want this? You don't want this behavior because sometimes, and maybe when using arpeggios or something like that, it's going to go crazy. So you're going to disable the poly mode. And what it does is you're going to go kind of in mono mode. So I'm going to go and do play. And notice what is happening. Every time that we play a new chord, it's starting from the beginning. Right? Starting from the beginning. It doesn't matter we are just playing several chords or we have many voices. So it's just one single motion. It's going to restart every time we press a new key. Now, right here, we are enabling and disabling this. If you go right here at the top, you can enable and disable this as well. So what else you can do? And this is like the basic usage of the 4th stage. And I'm gonna go in very quick because we can do all the things with the 4th stage, not just, modulating some of things on synthesizer. We can use it for different things. For example, right here, you have the set times in quarter notes. Notice the speed of how it goes. And I'm gonna go to the other one. And it's gonna be a little bit faster. It's just that. And this one is, of course, it's gonna say set times in quarter, or it's gonna be on and off, pretty much. Let's go slower and faster. All right. So then we have the other thing. So we have this one, which is the last thing we're gonna do. And this one is the looping mode. So right now it says no looping, it plays once. So it means that every time we play, it's gonna go and it's gonna finish and it's gonna die, right? Just like anything. It's just gonna start and then die. Now, of course, if we enable this, it's gonna say, okay, so I want this to loop from 0, and notice that says 1 to 1 from 1, and it's actually from 1 to 0. So when I play it, I select this one. Notice that the number 2, 3, and 4 are disabled. But this means the loop is gonna be from 0 to 1, but it's gonna loop it. Now, right now we are going really slow, so I'm gonna go and do something a bit quicker, something like that. And I'm gonna maybe disable this just to bring everything like this. And notice how it's looping, and I'm gonna go slower. So it doesn't matter we are holding or we press a new key. It's just gonna start looping. Of course, when we press a new key, it's gonna restart the cycle. Maybe if I do it slower, notice that right there is starting again. Now, of course, what happens if you want a more kind of a, sophisticated kind of a movement? So, of course, you can go and do something like that. And maybe I'm going to go and bring the number 4 right here. But the thing is that right now we are looping from 0 to 1, but you can do from 2, from 0 to 2. So you can go up and then you can go down and then just keep looping. And then you can have from 0 to 3, you're pretty much disabling the number 4. Or, of course, you can go and use the force. Use the force. Look, use the fork. Now, maybe you're wondering what's the difference from the 4 from 4 and off. Notice that it's looping. I stop the audio and it just keeps going and going and going until we restart the note. And it ends at the number 4 and then restarts again. That's, what the 4 and 4 does, 4 from 4. But if I disable off, it's just gonna keep going and die at some point. That's the difference. It's gonna play it, it's gonna do something, and it's gonna, keep going, and it starts when we press a new key, but the other one is just gonna restart right here. That's the difference. All right. And that's it. That's the basic usage of the 4th stage. All right, so let me show you a different example. Right now we have the same 4th stage and I'm on the track number 2. So it's the same instrument, the same chords, the same everything. Now the thing is that you can use the 4th stage to control other modulators that will control whatever is that it's gonna happen on the synthesizer. Right now I'm using right here a classic LFO, and I'm gonna go an amount of 100%. This is not connected to anything, but this is the movement that we are doing. Now what I want to do, I want to go and do a sync. This is what I want to do. I want to do something, like that, I want to say crazy sound, but, something like that. Now, the thing is that every time we play a new key, this LFO, it's constantly moving. So when we start playing the chord, we get this movement. So maybe what I want to do is a little bit of a space. We want to play the chord, just wait for maybe a tiny, few milliseconds, and then start, moving the sync. So the 4th stage, you can help with this one. So I'm going to go and say 0. So we are not doing any movement. But the 4th stage will instruct in the amount of what we want to do, right? Because every time we press a new key, we are not in poly mode, it's going to start this. So when I go and I play, notice that we have nothing, and then it starts. Nothing, and it starts. So think of this like, maybe you don't know that synthesizer, but that's fine. Think of this like the Juno, for example, or even the MS-20, where you have a modulation and you play a chord and you have a delay LFO, or you can, delay and then ramp the LFO whenever you play a new note. Well, this is the same thing. We are just playing a chord, waiting a certain amount of time, and then we let the LFO do its job. And you can use this for a lot of things. You can even, instead of doing the sing, you can do the common thing, which is what sometimes we use the Juno for, which is doing a little bit of pitch detuning. Maybe I'm going too much, 1.200 is just a bit too much. But notice that we get no pitch detuning at the beginning, and then we get the detuning. It's just fantastic. Right. All right, so let me give you a different example on the number 3, on the track number 3. Same chords. We are not doing anything new. The only thing we have right here is a reverb, a very long reverb, right? And this is the actual problem. Right here on the reverb, I have a fourth stage. So maybe what I want to do the same trick, because maybe the reverb is just too much. It's just too long. So what I want to do with the fourth stage, I want something to happen, and at one point, I want to go down on the mix so we get less reverb. This is going to help the instrument, or maybe the track, or whatever it is that you're doing, to blend a little bit more with the song. Because if the reverb is too long, it's just going to take a lot of space. So let's see what we can do. I'm going to go and do a bipolar, and if I do something like this, I'm going to say that whenever we maybe are right here, I'm going to go and do something like this. So this is going to go up, and then it's going to go down. Or what we can do the opposite way. So we're going to start very, up on the reverb, and we're going to go maybe a little bit up, and at some point we're going to make it darker, and we're going to stay right there. And again, we can do a little bit more, maybe the other way. It's going up and then going down. Pretty simple. So by this way, we are controlling, we're controlling the reverb a little bit more, making it get less intrusive on the track. And you can do this with whatever you want. Maybe you want a little bit of saturation. Let's say you bring a saturator or maybe a distortion, but you only want it on the initial transients of something, maybe on the peaks. So you use the fourth stage and you go up on the distortion on the peak, and then you go down. And there you go. You don't have a distorted, sustained sound maybe. You just have it on the initial transients. Or maybe you have it on some part of, maybe have it at the middle. You go up on the distortion, and then you go down. So you can use it for a million things. Now, what we are doing with the reverb is actually a very common trick that we do the whole time, and most of the times we do it with snares. So, okay, so I have a snare right here. I'm using the E snare, so it's not a very good snare. It's like a synthesizer snare. I mean, it's not a real snare, and I'm adding a lot of snap, so we can really get it whenever we add reverb. So if I go to the Valhalla plate, right, we get a lot of punch, but we get a lot of decay. So it's a really long plate. It's a really long reverb. And this is fine. It sounds cool, but it's occupying a lot of space. So this is crazy. So what we need to do, we need to gate it. This is a very common technique. So in this case, we could gate the mix of the plate, or I can go to a tool and add a tool at the end. And every time that the reverb gets too big, I'm gonna go and download the, I'm gonna go down on the volume. And I'm just gonna do it manually so I can prove how this shit works. Something like that. Of course, I'm doing it manually and it really sucks. But what we can do again, we can go something like this. You're gonna go and say that every time that the snare hits, you're gonna let that sound pass. Right? We are not going to do anything, but when we go up, it means that we go down on the volume. We're going to go down. So It's going to be snare, and the sound goes down. Now, of course, you will need to adjust this and time it with whatever snare that you're using. Right now, the sound is ending right here, but maybe you want to extend it a little bit more. So maybe you're going to do something like that. Or maybe you want to shorten it, right? Now, the cool thing, sometimes this technique, we do it with a lot of things. You can do it with whatever you want. You can even do it with a compressor. We use a gate, you know. We listen to the original snare, and then we put a bus on the snare, and we put a gate to just duck the sound of that. You know, this is a different way of doing this. Now, the cool thing with this one, since you have a way of shaping things, you can create a weird shape. So something like, you know, something like that. The snare is going to hit, it's going to go up and then down. And this is, I wouldn't say very common. It's not common. It's just a little bit of, you know, just a little bit different. Of course, right now, it's just maybe not that long, so I'm going to go and bring it down like a little bit more. And you can even do curves if you wish, so that's really cool. Now, of course, this kind of a solo sounds like crap, but maybe on a mix, you know, this one, it's just going to blend a little bit better. All right, so hopefully you like this. Of course, remember to like and subscribe the video. It's how this channel, you know, it just keeps alive. And see you on the next one.